I just have a small piece of this puzzle. And if I hold on to that piece and don't share it with anyone, then the puzzle is going to be incomplete. And so how do we come together to share our individual pieces of the puzzle?
This episode of Rethink Fit and Grow Podcast has been sponsored by Lee Davy.
The fitness world is changing. Fitness celebrities, expert trainers, bodybuilders, and athletes are learning how to redefine fit. On the Rethink Fit and Grow podcast, you're going to hear real-life stories from the heart, tales of transformation, and learn how you can be part of this worldwide movement. And now, it's time to Rethink Fit and Grow with your host, Della Fatui.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rethink Fit and Grow podcast. It is absolutely my pleasure and honor to bring you today a fantastic man, a man who has spent the last 30 years of his life learning, transforming, and impacting the world. Let's welcome Lee Davy on the podcast. Hello.
Hi, Della. Thank you so much for that beautiful welcome. I'm so honored to be here.
The last time we spoke face to face in the virtual world, you were in Costa Rica, and a week later, you are in Mexico. What is going on with you?
I just tend to go where I feel the energy, and right now it's feeling like I'll be likely bouncing back and forth between Costa Rica and Mexico. I mean, that's in this moment, and that could change, by the time we're finished this conversation. So it just really depends, and I really feel like, the way that time is right now, and how quickly, there's this speed up that's happened, right? And time is doing really weird things, and the energy is changing. Like, everything's happening so fast. And so that's why I really aim not to plan too far ahead, because at the moment's notice, it could be, an organization or something in another part of the planet that's where the energy is, and that's where I'll feel I need to be. So yeah, I'd like to flow and feel where the energy is. And there are so many pieces of this puzzle that we're all trying to put together. And that's been really my intention, as you mentioned, the last 30 years, that's been my intention, first and foremost, with and for myself. But as those pieces have started to come into clarity, I'm now focused on, what are the pieces of this global movement, this global mission that we're all on, and how do they fit together. So yeah, I like to be mobile and flow.
Cool. Then I get to live vicariously through you. So Lee,
Yeah.
I want to go back to what you said. Things are speeding up. Why is that? What's happening?
I really feel like the planet itself has ascended, and there's this great awakening that's happening. I truly feel like it's humanity's coming out party, coming home party. It's such an incredible period of time right now, where not only the frequency on the planet, if you can think of it as, the light that's coming in, the amount of light and the codes that are coming with that have expanded to such a degree that, the things that were hidden in the past, whether it's traumas or wounding or pain or, grief, all of those things can no longer be hidden because of the elevated vibration on the planet. And this is unlocking essentially who we truly are. And it's allowing us to expand into the infinite versions of that self. So that's why it seems like there's so much more chaos on the planet right now. And it's not that there's more, it's just that it can't be hidden anymore. And so it's coming up and out and off of us to look at, to release, to heal, so that we can move forward as we come back to truly knowing ourselves and understanding that, as I understand me better, I understand you better. And as I put those pieces together, I realized that, we truly are all one. And that is, it's proven now by all of the quantum sciences, and it's not just a theory anymore, but the proof is here that we are one, that we are healing, that we are expanding, that we are essentially coming back online. And it's just such a beautiful time to be here, despite all of the difficulties or perceived difficulties. I always say to my clients and in conversations that, it's only our perception of what is that makes it good or bad. Everything just is. And when we can reach that space of isness and detach, the perceived obstacles or difficulties or, negative things are actually just course corrections for us. And those are the things that, if you just switch your perspective to everything is happening for us in every moment, then they're all just opportunities to expand, learn, heal, and grow in some way, some shape or form.
Thank you for that. And you are right. It just seems like more and more of us are opening our eyes. And I think this is one of those times that, a lot of people who maybe in the past have been closed off to seeing beyond are now looking more carefully and are more open to the possibilities. And I think it's an exciting time. And thanks to people like you, Lee, who are bringing this information forward, that we can learn more and more. So thank you for everything you're doing. I want to go back to 30 years ago. So you've been in this, growth journey for the past 30 years. What happened 30 years ago? Was there a turning point for you?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, it's an honor to be here and to be sharing, the journey and just the obstacle, the perceived obstacles that I went through in coming back to know myself. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and God." And at 14 years old, I just remember it wasn't anything in particular. It was just this like deep seated knowing within that something wasn't right. That, the story that we're told, and the perception that was coming through my senses, there was something missing. There was no feeling of truth. And I didn't know what that was at the time, obviously. But that was the first time I remember being like, what, who am I? Why do I feel so alone? Why do I feel so isolated and alien? I had a great upbringing, amazing parents, played hockey, did all the things, had everything that we're, I guess, led to believe should make us happy. And yet I wasn't. That was the first time. And I remember writing, it's funny because hockey was my first love, but then like fitness, working out, which is appropriate with Rethink Fit, was my second love, and started working out really early on, probably at 15. The first book that I had was the Bodybuilding Encyclopedia by Arnold Schwarzenegger. But at like 13, I remembered writing Bill Phillips in The Body for Life. And he had this 12-week transformation challenge in the 90s. And I remember seeing it and thinking, okay, the challenge is cool, but it seems like this is maybe a gateway to something. And so I actually wrote him a letter saying, I've got this fire inside to do more, to be more, to help people. No idea what it is or where it comes from, but it seems like you've got it all kind of figured out. Maybe you can mentor me or give me a job or take me under your wing or something. And he never responded. And so I've been fumbling my way along, falling forward, ever since. And that really has led into, everything from training to nootropics and supplementation to, really understanding the neurophysiological aspects and neuroscience to breath work to medicines. I mean, you name it, I've tried it, as a seeker. And I truly feel again like these are all pieces to the puzzle, and so now that's essentially what I offer is, it's not maybe the way or the only way, but I feel like adding some of these tools and these pieces to the puzzle as offerings to individuals, it's like, okay, like every piece that you add and every little bit of understanding that you gain about yourself and who you truly are and for that matter, what we're truly capable of is a piece to clarifying the picture and piecing together the puzzle of who we are truly individually, and for that matter, who we are becoming or who we are remembering we are as a collective.
So you mentioned, you were in hockey and you were into bodybuilding. And I think going back, years ago, the physique was so important. I think a lot of people concentrated a lot on just the appearance. And so we were missing a lot back then. I feel like we were only looking at one aspect of being truly fit. You went through that whole learning and you found out for yourself that it's not just the physique that counts, but there's all these other aspects. And so in your opinion, where are we today compared to back then, I guess, all those years ago? Where are we in our understanding of what it takes to be really, truly fit? Are you optimistic? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely optimistic. I feel like the awareness and openness is much further along than it ever has been. We're at this interesting point of the intersection between science and spirituality. And, there are communities all over the planet that have this new perspective, and whether it's Rethink Fit with putting these pieces together, or communities or organizations that are buying land to build sustainable communities, or getting back to, I just finished a trip in Costa Rica with the Mamos, the keepers of the origin of knowledge, and discussing really coming back to ourselves and the natural order through our connection with the planet. So, growing your own foods and just literally sitting in stillness, connecting to water and the trees and that sort of thing. So these sorts of communities and perspectives are all over the planet now, whether the springboard is through fitness or is through nutrition or is through building community or meditation or mindfulness. I feel like they're all essentially gateways into the picture of totality that we're moving towards. And again, that really has been my personal journey and what I aim to, or the intention that I have for everything that I do now is really connecting these pieces to say, hey, like, if you're still looking just through one perspective or just from one side of the coin, you're kind of missing the whole picture. So how can we bring all of the tools, all of the communities, all of these perspectives of what true health, wholeness, happiness, and oneness really is? And for me, it's bringing it all together to paint this picture.
Lee, what are you most excited about?
That's a great question. There are so many things. I really feel like the period that we're in and the openness of people, really the healing and the clarity that's coming through all of the chaos that's on the planet right now, because that's what it is. Again, that it's coming up to come out so that we're free of it. And so as we become more free and as more, for lack of better terminology, people and communities come online to the awareness that, hey, we are one, not only with each other, but the planet. And that, this idea of rethinking fit from, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical wellness, and our connection to each other and our connection to the land and creating community, that all of these pieces and really all of the solutions are here for us. It's truly all here. And my goal is to spread the word about creating coherent action. The action takers are here. There's just everybody's still a little bit working in silos from an old maybe paradigm of competition and if I share clients then I'm not going to have any, and there's still a little bit of that scarcity and competition, but that is quickly eroding to the point where everybody is more open to collaboration and co-creation, to the concept, to the idea that I just have a small piece of this puzzle. And if I hold on to that piece and don't share it with anyone, then the puzzle is going to be incomplete. And so how do we come together to share our individual pieces of the puzzle to complete this picture, to unify truly for the first time? That's what I feel is coming. That's what I feel people are more and more open to receiving, open to sharing their individual pieces to the collective, so that we can unify to support what each other is doing to really nullify competition, duplication of efforts, and really maximize our reach, our resources, as essentially as we move forward into oneness, into truth, into wholeness.
My heart's singing right now. Oh, I'm so happy to hear you talk about this. I think there is so much power in numbers, and collaboration helps us all be empowered and really achieve amazing things. I know that you are working on something fantastic, and you told me a little bit about that. Let's share what's coming up. What are you working on right now?
Kind of depends on the day. Again, it's multiple pieces, I feel, and facets. So there are. So let's start with the Unified Alliance.
Yes.
So essentially, the Unified Alliance is this planetary call to coherent action, right? And it is essentially a platform or a gateway to create greater coherence kind of throughout, between individuals, organizations, the various communities, and the earth, in order to uphold natural law. So essentially educate around natural law and non-aggressive conflict resolution, right? So that we can regain the natural order originating from the origin.
So we're going to take a short break and hear a message, and we'll be right back. This episode of Rethink Fit and Grow Podcast has been sponsored by Lee Davy.
After a lifetime of sitting and walking with living masters, learning neuroscience, epigenetics, cosmology, breathwork, meditation, the art of movement and nutrition, learning from medicines and walking with native tribes, Lee Davy has mastered what it takes to overcome feelings of disconnection, unworthiness, and a body riddled with anxiety to fully embracing one's power. Lee Davy now offers his story, his passion and compassion, along with these tools to support others in their journey through group coaching, breathwork sessions, online workshops, events, and in-person retreats. Are you ready to come back to knowing yourself? Visit www.lee/davy.com.
And we're back with Lee Davy on Rethink Fit and Grow Podcast. So Lee, before the break, you were talking about the Unified Alliance. Can you explain that a little bit more?
I'll use some terminology from my time with the Mamos. So the Mamos are, if we think of three concentric circles, the Mamos are the innermost circle, and they've been left with the task to preserve an ancient language, to preserve the connection to the earth, right? And that ancient language and that connection to the earth is the wisdom. They're literally the wisdom keepers of the origin of all that is, and that connection to the planet, right? Then we've got the middle concentric circle, which are the natives, right? And the natives have been entrusted with certain ancient sites and lands and other types of wisdom. And then they call us younger brother. And then there's younger brother. And younger brother is the outer circle. And we've been entrusted with the technology and the resources and kind of the rest of the lands. but there's no connection to each other. There's no cross-pollination. There's no real, I guess, awareness of the resources, the gold, the knowledge that the other, that each circle has. And so the idea behind the Unified Alliance is to create, that connection, first of all, between Younger Brother and all the organizations and individuals that have their own piece of this puzzle, to start the conversation about, okay, like how can I support you, right? What are the pieces that I have that can fit into your puzzle, and vice versa? To then begin that conversation and start to cross-pollinate with a group that I've connected with through a dear brother who's creating film footage, documentaries following the natives and ceremonies, and he's involved with the United Nations of Spirit. And right now, it's currently primarily made up of the Southern American native tribes and spiritual leaders, right? So to begin that conversation, to begin that connection from the various organizations through the Unified Alliance and connecting them to the United Nations of Spirit. And then there becomes this cross-pollination where, the flow of resources and technology and things that we've been entrusted with begin to flow into this inner circle. And then the wisdom from the inner circle begins to flow outwards to Younger Brother, right? So there becomes this cross-pollination of everything that is available to us. And through that, a reconnection, a reunification of every individual on the planet, no matter, beyond borders, boundaries, or limits. And then through that will begin to allow us to really step into and actually protect human rights. It would also, so the UA would also generate essentially a platform or a gateway for funds, investors, tools, programs, resources, and people to flow into all communities, all aspects of, this global puzzle that we're putting together, all different projects, whether it's purchasing land or whether it's, creating conscious media to be able to disperse, to be able to tell the story of this rebirthing, and I say rebirthing with an EARTH, rebirthing process that we're in, to actually create alignment, coherence, and values and purpose in order to deliver humanitarian excellence. And I define humanitarian excellence as providing the tools and education necessary for all individuals all over the planet to become solely self-reliant, right? Because, I feel like it's like, we'll do something humanitarian, we'll give, this group $1 million. Well, if they haven't been, stewarded in how to have responsibility for that $1 million, then chances are, they're going to be back in the same position. So we need to create this excellence by providing the tools and education, right? And then finally, essentially creating an accountability within individual communities, across and between communities, and between the communities and the Unified Alliance. And what this looks like is stewarding councils or containers for us to actually come into council with each other to be able to speak freely, transparently, authentically, vulnerably, and have a reflection held up so that we can be held accountable, right? Because one thing I've learned very, very recently through a lot of personal pain was that, if I'm not triggered, if I'm not held up a reflection for my shadows, for my blind spots, how will I ever see them? Because they're my blind spots for a reason. So we have to lovingly create these containers to be able to hold each other accountable so that we can see clearly and move forward, in the direction that we want to go. And there is kind of a map that's been coming through, but I kind of want to digress to hand it back to you, because I know I've been just going on for.
I think it's exciting. You know what? I'm trying to imagine this world where all of this is implemented. What a beautiful picture you just painted for us. I really wish that for the for my son, who's almost 19. I want him to live in that kind of a world. There's a lot of hope there, Lee.
I was just gonna say I truly feel like it's here. There's like this template, and energy always precedes matter, and so. It's here, and now we just have to catch up in the physical, right? So now it's, as I said, all of these pieces are here, now it's just about stepping into it fully.
Do you believe in blessings in COVID?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the first time in history that all of humanity has gone through something together. Now, at the moment, it's created a greater divide than has ever existed before. But I truly believe that that is just a step towards unification.
I believe that too. You have a lot of different programs through which you help people, you empower individuals, you do group coaching, and you have retreats. You're a creator, and I want us to help people kind of understand what services it is that you offer, and maybe shine light on a couple of them. And if people want to find out more, where can they reach you?
Absolutely. So I feel like there's this kind of golden thread running through it, right? And so there's the assisting and supporting individuals, which kind of essentially comes from my own journey and the tools that I've learned and used to really step into more fully, or maybe unlock or remember is a better word to use, who I am. And so I offer that through coaching, workshops, and retreats. I've got we call it true self activation. Breathwork is the main component, but I mean, we do tonal activations and group sharing and silent mantras, and I talk about the neuroscience and the physiological benefits of the breath and the pineal gland, and a little bit of quantum science, and so all of that is woven in. I've got a retreat coming up in November, which it will likely be in Mexico, so you can look out for that. And it's essentially just Linktree/Superhuman1. I would just like to add just a quick little bit about this map. So myself and a few others are putting together essentially a pitch, and we're using education as the kind of the umbrella, if you will. But there are four main components. There is life school, or what we're calling centers for expansion. There are land projects where we're actually reacquiring the sacred lands, reacquiring other lands to actually build communities on. There's conscious media production, and then there's essentially the Unified Alliance and the United Nations of Spirit, which is connecting organizations, right? And so the education component for the schools becomes, okay, we're gonna buy land, we're going to create these and build these schools where it teaches about all of these things, from breathwork to meditation to growing your own foods and harvesting, and just kind of all the things that we're not really taught in traditional schools.
No kidding.
The land projects are reacquiring the lands with the ancient knowledge from the natives, from the Mamos, and how to actually work with the lands and make payments and ask for permissions. And then once communities are built, to be able to learn and educate on growing your own foods and building your own furniture, and really coming back to the land. Mm-hmm. The connecting the organizations would be what I spoke to earlier about actually providing these councils for authenticity, transparency, vulnerability, to hold each other accountable so that we can provide or move into coherent action. And then the last is conscious media production, which again, dear brother Diego has been filming and traveling essentially on his own for the last number of years, creating documentaries and films about the what's happening with the elders, and coming together in ceremonies and holding the energetic space for us to come back to the natural order. Right. And so this overarching plan would really, what I see anyways, is to be a funnel or a gateway for funds to flow into all these different aspects. And through these different aspects, these four pillars, if you will, are all of the projects that I've come across, and I'm quite sure many more that I have not come across that are building these different aspects.
Wow. Thank you. I wanted to go back to your true self-activation program. Who is able to use that program?
Honestly, it really is for anyone, Della. I mean, if you feel like you're having a difficult time, if you're dealing with any kind of anxieties or stresses or anything like that, the idea is to bring a number of aspects of knowing the self into an individual's awareness to be able to feel safe and comfortable enough to breathe intentionally enough to liberate stored energy. And our cells literally hold on to energy of the past, and it's a frequency. And our cells literally emit light. And so the wounding and the debris and all the different things that are held on to that typically end up in the subconscious mind. So the difference between kind of the subconscious and the conscious is the conscious is akin to the intellect. It's like what you can see or what you remember, and a lot of that stuff is buried and held onto in the cells, and we don't even necessarily know it's there. Right? Anytime we've been harmed or traumatized or hurt, and oftentimes we've not been. It's not been okay to explore those things, and they're never necessarily nice to explore or go into. So we just push it down and lock it away. And we keep doing that. And I used to say, think of every cell as being a towel, and the stress and the wounding and the trauma that we hold on to is water. And those towels get heavier and heavier and more soaked and more dense until it starts to overflow. And then that causes some form of dis-ease. And it's a hyphenated body that is not at ease that starts to come up. And then that's when the anxiety and the panic attacks and the depression and all these things, the chaos and the stress start to build up. So it's a body that's out of harmony, providing these pieces and these tools and these perspectives of understanding, and then utilizing the breath to literally go in and liberate that stored energy. I mean, people shift monumentally. We do all the science and everything. We go through the practice of the breaths, the practice of the holds, all of the silent work, toning, mantras, then 3 breathing sessions, 3 meditation sessions. So it's a really power-packed day for people.
Yeah, that would be 10 hours of rediscovering yourself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's phenomenal. I mean, it must be so fulfilling for you to see changes in people. That must be just so awesome. What is your purpose in life, Lee Davy?
So it truly is to uplift the health and consciousness of the planet, the people on the planet. Again, just through my own journey in feeling so alone and feeling so alien so many years ago, to the realization and the understanding of a quantum level of connection, of love, of oneness. And every time I enter that space, whether it's through meditation or breath work or, and I've had some really incredible experiences of a knowingness of oneness, of a knowingness, that in that space, there's always more love that we can feel. There's always more connection to be had. There's always more wholeness, abundance, and there's always more to be able to be a bridge to information or to communities, or for an individual to unlock a little bit more of the truth, a little bit more understanding and awareness of who they truly are. I feel like that's why I am.
By knowing ourselves, we get to know one another. That's what you said, right?
Absolutely.
You said, know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and God. That's where it starts. And so you help people find that place. I think that is admirable. I think the world needs your superpower. You have a couple of more minutes to leave us with whatever you like, my friend.
Just be open to possibility. Be open to the idea that there's always more love, always more connection. There's always more that we can achieve. And it's not saying that where you are now is bad. Again, there's no good or bad, right or wrong, greater or less than. It's just there's always more. So approach life with the curiosity of the 3-year-old, right? And like looking at everything as if you're seeing it for the first time, and fall in love with life again. And take that next step, and then share what that step has done for you, the difference in how you felt before and after.
Lee,
Absolutely.
you're awesome. Thank you for doing this, for stepping out of your comfort zone all the time so you can make this a better world for the rest of us. You truly are incredible. Thank you. Okay, well, we're out of time. Once again, Lee Davy.
Linktree/superhuman1.
Superhuman one. I love it. Okay.
and I just want to thank you as well, Della, for using your voice to spread the message and spread the word. And it's such an honor for me to be here and to be able to speak with you and just our very first conversation. I felt such a high resonance, and I just felt your kindness and your heart. And so yeah, I just want to really recognize you and appreciate you and offer the idea that I'm just a reflection. We're all just reflections of each other.
Truly are. Thank you. I appreciate you, Lee. Thank you so much. And so for everyone who's been with us through this podcast, I want to thank you for your time and your commitment for you to live your best life. This has been another episode of Rethink Fit and Grow Podcast, this time with Lee Davy. This episode of Rethink Fit and Grow Podcast has been sponsored by Lee Davy. Visit www.lee-davy.com.